Economics is a study that is intertwined with man's life. Man makes many decisions in his day-to-day life. For anybody who has started or is willing to start into the vibrant world of economics, there are certain notions that one must remember. Just like how one cannot study math without knowing the principle of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, etc., the foundation of economics lies in the 10 principles of economics. Not just in academics, knowledge of these 10 principles allow even a layman to make better and more rational judgments in their daily life. Gregory Mankiw, in his text Principles of Economics, described these 10 principles of economics. They are as follows. People face trade-offs. The cost of something is what you give up to get it. Rational people think at the margin. People respond to incentives. Trade can make everyone better off. Markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. Governments can sometimes improve economic outcomes. The standard of living depends on a country's production. Prices rise when the government prints too much money. Society faces a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. In these series of videos, each day we will take into account two of these principles and discuss in details what significance these principles could hold for anybody interested in economics. In today's video, we will be concentrating on the third and fourth principle of economics. Number 3 is rational people think at the margin, and number 4 is people respond to incentives. Let's start with the third principle, which states that rational people think at the margin. For the sake of simplicity, economists normally assume that people are rational. While this causes many problems, there is an undercurrent of truth to the fact that people systematically and purposefully do the best they can to achieve their objectives given opportunities. There are two paths to rationality. The first is that your understanding of the world is correct. Second, you maximize the use of your resources towards your goal. Mankiw defines rational people as people who systematically and purposefully do the best they can to achieve their objectives. As you study economics, you will encounter firms that decide how many workers to hire, how much of their product to manufacture and sell to maximize profits. You will also encounter individuals who decide how much time to spend working and what goods and services to buy with resulting income to achieve the highest possible level of satisfaction. What does it mean to think at the margin? It means to think about your next step forward. The word marginal means additional. Rational people know that decisions in life are rarely black and white, but usually involve shades of gray. Economists use the term marginal change to describe a small incremental adjustment to the existing plan of action. If you think at the margin, you are thinking about what the next or additional action means to you. Keep in mind that margin means edge. So marginal changes are adjustments around the edges of what you're doing. Rational people often make decisions by comparing marginal benefits and marginal cost. Let's say that you are to decide if you want to take tuitions for economics next month. The tuition fee for economics is say rupees 1,000 per month. This is your marginal cost of taking another month of tuition. In case you take tuitions, you are expected to get 80 instead of 65 in your upcoming monthly tests. That is 15 marks more than your average score. This is your marginal benefit of taking another month of tuition. If the marginal benefits exceed the marginal costs, you take the action. That is, if you value 15 marks more than rupees 1,000, you take the tuition. Else you don't. Hence, a rational decision maker takes an action if and only if the marginal benefit of the action exceeds the marginal cost. Marginal decision making can help explain some otherwise puzzling economic phenomenon. Here is a classic question. Why is water so cheap while diamonds are so expensive? Humans need water to survive while diamonds are unnecessary. Yet people are willing to pay much more for a diamond than for a cup of water. The reason is that a person's willingness to pay for a good is based on the marginal benefit that an extra unit of the good would yield. The marginal benefit in turn depends on how many units a person already has. Water is essential, but the marginal benefit of an extra cup is small because water is plentiful. By contrast, no one needs diamonds to survive, but because diamonds are so rare, people consider the marginal benefit of an extra diamond to be large. This concept is called the water diamond paradox. There are a lot of concepts associated with the water diamond paradox. If you want a detailed video on this topic, then please write down in the comment section below and I will surely get back to it. Thinking at the margin means you let go of the past and to think forward to the next hour, day, year, or dollar that you spent in time or money. What's better for you now or in the next few minutes? If you think at the margin, you are thinking ahead. You can't change the past, but you can change what you do next. Economists sometimes summarize this by saying some costs are sound. And in what you do next, you should weigh the costs and benefits starting afresh for the next few minutes of your time, which is what economists mean when they say think at the margin. Moving on to the fourth principle of economics, which N. Gregory Mankiw assures us is accepted by almost all economists, which is people respond to incentives. This is obviously true, so it's good that almost all economists agree. Incentives induce people to act. The phrase people respond to incentives was popularized by Stephen E. Landsberg in his book, The Armchair Economist, where he said on the first page, most of economics can be summarized in 4 words. People respond to incentives. The rest is commentary. The phrase captures the idea that in order to affect the behavior of people and more generally of decision-making agents, we need to alter the structure of incentives they face. If you use a rational approach to decision-making that involves trade-offs and comparing costs and benefits, you respond to incentives. Charlie Munger once said, never ever think about something else when you should be thinking about the power of incentives. Incentives are everywhere. Shops advertise discounts to lure us in and try to keep us coming with loyalty cards. Car manufacturers offer attractive finance deals. Companies run Employee of the Month competitions. Signs and announce the penalties for misbehaving. The use and effect of incentives, negative or positive, has become a heuristic that we almost apply blindly and that we think universally applies. As children, we got punished when we were naughty and got rewards when we were good. At work, we get bonuses when we perform well and we get written warnings when we don't or when we behave badly. We risk a fine when we drive too fast or when we drop litter in the park. And even countries get financial support if they behave in a friendly way and are exposed to military threats if they don't. Incentives are crucial to analyzing how markets work. Public policymakers should never forget about incentives. Many policies change the costs or benefits that people face and as a result alter their behavior. Failing to consider how policies and decisions affect incentives often results in unforeseen contingencies. One of the clearest examples of where people respond strongly to incentives is retirement. If you raise the retirement age, many people who would otherwise be eligible to work would continue to work. Since retirement probably increases life satisfaction or happiness and perhaps even health, we obviously want it to happen at some point. But since it's also very costly in terms of benefits paid and productive activity not done, we want to be mindful of both costs and benefits. While it is true that people respond to incentives, not everyone responds to incentives in the same way, at least under all circumstances. Backseat drivers sometimes ignore this bit and be lured into thinking that behavior of this or that group of people can simply be changed with some obvious positive or negative incentive. But when we also do seek to change people's behavior, maybe as a manager, as a teacher, or even as a parent, it's easy to uncritically call upon such incentives that appear self-evident. People have complex set of preferences, however, and it is rarely the obvious incentives that work the best. The battlefield of behavior change is rife with unexpected side effects. So everyone agrees that people respond to incentives. The question is how people respond to incentives. Mankiw tells us that economists are social scientists and their field is centered on the understanding human behavior. The lesson is, as it is often, it's not that simple. The right incentives may produce the desired change in behavior, but you need to do your homework and establish what precisely these right incentives are. And that requires effort, which is, of course, a disincentive.